Welcome to American Griefcast. I'm your host, Sean Humphreys. American Griefcast is a long-form discussion with comedians about grief and loss. Most of the great humor in life is built on tragedy and pain. So I wanted to explore the idea of pain with some of the funniest people I know. And that's what we're doing here today, exploring pain with funny people. Today on the Griefcast, we're going to talk to the Reverend Jeremy Scippio. I accused him of being a minister throughout the interview because he just has that moral high ground, and it's really kind of beautiful because he got it from his grandmother, who he talks about, who was the moral center of his family, and when she left, it was catastrophic for him. He has an album out that you can get on iTunes called Happens to the Best of Us. He can be found at Jeremy Comedy on Instagram. Here he is on the Griefcast. So, do you want to talk about your grandma?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys don't do intro music and all that?
No,
I'll just go right into it.
No, but I'll edit it later on, and
Okay.
I'll get a little bio, and I'll just do read the intro, more official, because I like the idea of just we're having a conversation and now it's happening, and of course then I'm like, tell me about your grandma.
Well, that's actually really good. I actually had a dream about her last night.
Wow.
Yeah. That doesn't happen that often.
Well, it's like whatever your brain was telling you you're gonna be visiting her again today or whatever, and so
Yeah. I guess so. I might as well.
Did she? So did she raise you, or you were just close growing up?
Yeah. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. I would say, my mother was in my life, and then also I had my godmother who helped raise me. I was around my grandma probably like the third most of people in my life, and it was especially my early years. A lot of basic grandma stuff. Church on Sundays, and, stuff like
Basic grandma stuff.
Because I don't want to sound like
I love that
because
phrasing.
some people just try to make it sound so unique and special. Where it's just like, my grandma used to give me candy. My grandma used to give me candy. It's like, yours too? Yeah, she used to wear a big hat in church. My grandma wore a big hat in church. Like, that's what grandmas do.
That's what they are. That's the role candies and big hats are what grandmas do.
Yeah.
No, I also love the idea that somebody said something like, "Oh yeah, my grandma, she used to shave my body when I was." Wait, what?
My grandma used to sit. No, I was playing.
Everybody wants to feel connected, so they're like, "Yeah, my grandma used to do that stuff."
Your
too.
grandma was a pedophile.
I feel like we have the title.
What kid has body hair? You weirdo. Your grandma shaving you. That's love, man. Your grandma. I'd be a terrible grandfather. I wouldn't shave no grandchild.
No, never.
I'll tell my kid, that's your hairy ass child. You shaving. Enough shaving in my lifetime.
I didn't raise a werewolf.
Yeah.
So where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Wow.
Yeah. Specifically, I'm gonna start saying this too because it's the truth. Lincoln Heights, Zone 15.
Oh
man.
shit.
Yeah, all black neighborhood.
Wow.
Small. I say it's one of the first black communities. I think it is the first black community in America. Like started.
Yeah. And then grew out of that area, and then yep.
Yeah.
Well, and also whatever. Oh, it's Ohio's the heartland.
Yeah.
It's like as Midwest as it gets over there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, I can't even. Well, I'll tell you, Cincinnati is weird because it's on the border. It's like literally the bottom of Ohio, and
it's almost the South.
If you drive, exactly.
Fucking Missouri is the fucking South.
Yeah.
It's no. I went to Louisville. Wait, what's the one in?
Well, Louisville's in Kentucky.
In Kentucky. No, but I went to
St. Louis.
St. Louis. That's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The Louis was in there, and it really surprised me because I grew up in L.A. Not that we're colorblind here, but I mean, hey, we got mostly you're seeing Latinos. Like everybody kind of mixes up. There was such a divide in St. Louis. Or Louis. Wait, which one? St. Louis.
St. Louis. Well, I don't know. I tell you, I don't really consider Cincinnati the South, but a lot of people, there's a lot of Southern culture there.
Yeah.
And, it's considered or was considered one of the most racist places,
Sure. Also, aren't they a city that's known for their barbecue?
I don't know, not directly.
Okay, maybe not. Okay,
Not
I was gonna say
that's like that's Memphis or something. Yeah.
But no, there was some.
We're known for the one time it was like Porkopolis. That's like some old history stuff. Because they even had like where they have like pigs. They like built like these porcelain pigs around town, and
as like tourist attraction.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like that,
yeah, they had like a Pikachu pig one time, whatever. It's like weird. But yeah, it's also known for their chili.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's right. Yes, I have heard of that. Raised by 3 women.
No. I would say it like that because it wasn't like one house. I'm just saying like of the people I was around. But no, mostly my mother. You know, just me and my mom.
Just the 2 of you.
Yeah,
because it was just me and my brother and my mom. Mostly, so I get the whole like, yep, this is just us. This is this small family unit.
Yeah. But just growing up in the hood, it was like. It was it was a fun. That's a funny word.
No. It's weird because if you don't realize you're poor or whatever, or this is your world, and everybody's out there living their life, you don't necessarily see whatever the problems when you're a kid.
Yeah, you just kind of what's common. You know, you don't realize is technically not common. Or whatever.
Yeah, there's some way that, yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily describe it as poor. You know, it just was. You know, my mom worked pretty hard, and you know, she did her best. And
what'd she do for work?
She's a hairdresser, cosmetologist, as they say.
And, mostly kind of cash business. But if she's booking a lot, then she's probably doing okay.
Yeah, which enough to take care of me. I was the only child, so it wasn't. It was. It kind of sufficed itself. And I went to the school I went to. They have like advanced classes and stuff like that, whatever. So, problem I still have to this day. Never did my homework, but smart kid. So if they test me, I'll test out of the class, whatever.
Yeah.
So I ended up going from that school to this school that was in a good neighborhood,
like a magnet program or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then that was like
hanging out with white kids at that point.
Yeah. When that was like 3rd grade, and that was my mother always said that was important to her because she didn't want it to be a culture shock. When I got older and then I was exposed to white people.
It's interesting because, when you say exposed to white people, because I think that there's such a different frame of mind. I mean, I would say like, I'm going to get a little, I'm going to probably say the wrong thing.
Go for it. Go hard.
African black people are different from, American black people, and black people that have never been exposed to white people are also there's just a difference. I don't know how to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say it's not necessarily like because you say African. I know, like me and several people defer on this, but I would say that African, in this context, would say the country.
Yeah,
that's
what.
I'm sorry, the continent. I sound stupid. I sound stupid.
I'm saying
African continent.
I'm saying African black people.
Yeah, exactly.
Are so different.
But that's why just literally to say this. I'm just saying this so because we can separate it.
Yeah,
I always make fun of people who say country, and I'm like, I just said it. But so you have it's a cultural thing, and certain people, can get comfortable in their culture.
Yeah,
and this is of any race.
Country. That's the best way of putting it. I always say, I'll say hick or country or whatever, but it's somebody who is almost unwilling to leave the place of origin. And they think that's the most important thing. They can't see the world. And
it can be multiple reasons. It could be because of fear. It could be
money.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. But I think it was very important to my my mother was right by that or whatever. It's for me to see other cultures
to open up your world.
Yeah, and to kind of make up my own mind, which I've always been able to. If anything, I've been most grateful for with anybody who's been a part of my early life was I was able to think for myself.
Isn't that crazy?
Some people aren't taught that.
No, but I think that there's so many elements in our culture that tell people not to think for themselves.
Absolutely.
Stay in line, conform, blah blah blah. Back to grandma.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a hard right turn.
That's fine. All right. My grandma. When my grandma passed away last May, and I did feel at peace with it because I got to talk to her like a week before.
Did you know? Did she have an illness or?
I don't know. Like it's weird when people pass. People close to you always gonna ask you like, so what happened? What happened? What happened? I'm not really that type of person.
Gotcha.
Because like my mother was close to her around her passing, and other people in the family. They've all explained it various ways. I'll be honest, I'm not 1,000% clear, but I just know it was it was sudden. And that's
okay,
what,
gotcha.
that's what bothers
But
me.
I'm asking that did you talk to her because you knew something was going to happen, or because you were going to talk to your grandma that day?
She would go to the hospital frequently.
Yeah,
but I'll be honest, I had no idea how severe.
Gotcha.
But I'll just say that.
So it was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, it's definitely a surprise.
Okay.
For me.
Now, so then this is always the kind of the heart of the interview is. The moment you found out, somebody gave you a phone call, or how did that happen, and how'd you feel?
Whenever bad news happens, I think I if anybody knows me, they know I might come off negative, but I don't know. What's really happening is I'm hoping for the best.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Sure. Whenever I get bad news, I immediately, switch it on to the most positivity I can. Wow. But I had booked a flight to Chicago to perform, and I was already coming to Cincinnati, like the around that same time anyway. Oh, wow. So it was kind of weird, like that.
It's like almost like a magnetic pull was drawing you back to Cincinnati.
Absolutely, especially because if anybody knows me, I don't like going back home at all.
Those people.
I'm not a fan of my hometown in that way. But yeah, I was going in. I wanted to be there, and I always would check in with her if nobody else, and I was there for the funeral and the just kind of the all the important stuff that goes along with that. But yeah, when I first heard it did it hurt.
So there's a thing, the Kubler-Ross is the denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So did you have a moment like when they're like, no, grandma, she's fine, or were you just did you know right away that it was true and this is really happening?
Well, I'll tell you, I have a weird thing with death in general. Like I never really I've been to a lot of funerals previous before that, and I never I don't know, I never really felt sad.
That's interesting,
yeah,
right?
Never felt like crying or anything like that. To me, I'm such a logical person. At least I tell myself that, I
you got a robot inside.
Yeah, I rationalize death. It's a part of life.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, somebody died. It's just like, oh, and then I found myself, when people go on and on about it, I find myself kind of faking, like concern. Because I get it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
you have to. Yeah. Us robots out in the world, we have to pretend.
Oh, you relate.
A little bit, and it's funny, but it was up until my father passed away that I could kind of be more logical and be a little cool about it. And then when my dad is like, "Oh no, I'm a real human boy,"
that's exactly what happened. And it always that has always annoyed me because people always said, "There was like, oh." If the people I would express that to, they'd be like, you don't, to somebody close to you, and then like people closer to me started dying, and I'm like, well, it hasn't happened yet, That's not to brag on being a sociopath, but
up until that moment,
because even my godmother passed it, I didn't cry, I just, it just affected me with my grandmother, it didn't get. I guess it didn't get real to me until the actual funeral.
And seeing other people.
What it was that I didn't feel like it was her time yet.
Wow.
Most people, I feel like it's their time, and that's whether old or young. I don't know why. It's not. It's just a feeling. And for some reason, it just was like she was. I always feel like, and I still feel like that she was supposed to do more.
She had a vibrancy about her, and she was.
My grandmother was the most positive person in my life.
Wow.
Like she's you know how you find out people done wrong things in life, but I'm like, oh, not her,
Yeah.
She, and
but she's a human being.
Of course.
And also, I'd also say like one of the reasons why I have any wisdom is because I was a fucked up scumbag my whole fucking life, and now I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a decent human being because I've seen the pain that I've caused other people. That's
you trying to call my grandma a scumbag?
No, wait. Wait a second.
Yeah.
No,
Grandma, get him. No.
I'm having a heart attack. No, but I'm saying, or she had a real human past.
Yeah, well, it's always just fun to find out because and I feel like that type of person is important for people to have in people's lives. I realize how grateful I am and should have been for that type of role model in my life, because I feel like you do need somebody, because I don't know, I look at my mother, or especially my father, or just any other people, anybody else in my life, I seen their flaws. You grow up, you like, oh, you kind of just see the flaws, and I'm not saying that they're bad people, just saying my grandma to me in a way was flawless.
Wow.
So
that's amazing. I also love that idea that there's something of the spark of her inside of you, like that. I mean, we kind of we literally just met, but you've so far you've come off as a decent human being, and I think that
you don't know me.
Well, no, but the truth is, but the truth is like I'm pretty good at reading people, and I get the vibe of like, oh, this guy's great, he's fine, you know what I mean, like that thing, and it's almost like if you have that kind of positive influence on your life, it makes you want to be a better person. Yeah,
and it's just certain lessons. I hear her voice whenever that's like I'm not good at taking compliments. I mean, like seriously, like it don't may not seem like an issue, but it's like a real issue for me. Like, you have a good show, you get off stage, all these people are coming up to you, oh my gosh, and they're quoting you, and I could only do like 2 of those. After that, the people are not getting the best out of me, which sucks when you actually look at somebody like, yo, I loved you. And I'm just like, yeah, thank you. But my grandma always said, because the truth is, I don't know what to say, know. But then my grandma always said, just say thank you. Just say thank you, and she used to always be on me about that. Just say thank, just like if you have an exchange, say thank you. So that's why I learned to say, I always do it no matter what. Thank you. Oh, thank you. You can't say it enough. It's just so many different things, like these lessons, you don't realize how important they are until the person's gone. Yeah. She always said that too.
Just say thank you.
Well, she always told me that because she said she didn't have a grandma growing up. And she was just like, she said, one day you're really gonna appreciate me. And I'm like, yeah, of course I appreciate you, grandma, but man, she was 1,000% correct. I'm so grateful.
So it hit you at the funeral, though.
It hit me at the funeral. Yeah, and I had to speak. I wasn't the most energetic kid growing up, but I've become like the speaker. Not necessarily. I don't speak for the family, but since my career as a comic,
you're a performer.
So yeah. Sometimes they just be like, whenever there's an option to speak, they're like, well, Jeremy's gonna speak, and it's like, well, I don't have anything to say, but I got something I'm going to say. Hope y'all like it.
Yeah, but also all the training and all the stage time. It's like, oh, really? Is this what's happening? Okay, boom, I'll show you. So you were at the funeral, and were you the only one speaking, or were there other people?
Well, there was a lot of problems at the funeral. Oh my God. It's like, I think Chris Rock made a comedy called Death of the Funeral. He didn't do enough. I could make a sequel that'd be way crazier. It's just
give me an example of some of the craziness. Because again, like
my family gonna hear this, and I hope they do. I hope they do.
If you don't I always say to my friends that are like, oh, don't tell people. I was like, hey, don't act like an asshole, and I won't have anything to say.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna call people assholes. It's just life. I'm not perfect.
I don't need to be putting words in your
mouth. No. It's just I'm not perfect, and people can go in on me for days. But yeah. So thank you. I'm just gonna say things, and whatever happens.
Yeah. It's truth.
But yeah, I'll tell you. All right, I'll just go with the biggest thing that was like bothering me. Okay, so the church, and I understand why. Thank you, man. The church, the church. It was like it's a church that's been in my family for years, and for whatever reason, I know funerals pop up quick, and they don't have resources. So we're at the funeral, and the preacher, he's doing his thing, and then he goes, "Has anybody here But he goes, if anybody, we don't have a drummer this Sunday. So, or not Sunday, whatever day it was.
Yeah.
And it was like, we really need a drummer. Is anybody in the audience that God is blessed with the talent to play drums? And I'm like, not at my grandma's funeral, bro.
Oh,
Not at the funeral.
he was
man.
shilling.
Well, you don't hold casting auditions for like, yo,
You need a new drummer, guys.
and then and then like I can play little drums. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the greatest drummer. Can I play for a church? On a spot or funeral?
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
it's a little amateur hour at the church sometimes. Sometimes, yeah.
But I was casted to play the grandson in this thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was being the grandson. You know what I'm saying? The supportive grandson. So a cousin of mine decided that she stood up and it was like, oh, hey man, yo. She stood up and she like kind of floated down to the drum set as she was compelled. And everybody's like, oh man, hey man, yeah, we gonna see. Oh man, oh, this is gonna be great. Hey man, hallelujah. Then she gets on the drums and hear, poof, 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 poof. Hey man, yo, let him know. Then you hear, poof, poof. Okay. Then she could not play drums. She couldn't play drums. Maybe she knew she couldn't play drums. I knew she couldn't play drums. God knew she couldn't play drums. And my grandma
At the funeral.
was sitting there I don't know.
The casket.
Yeah,
No, to me that is so like hilarious. Partially, there's a part of me that thinks maybe. Do you think that she maybe was like, oh, maybe if I go up there, the spirit will move me?
yes.
Wow.
And I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time. The spirit, oh man, the spirit was moving me to. I was just like, I don't know. I wanted to just rip her down from there. And just
so
go,
ridiculous.
It's fine because it gets worse.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh
No,
wait, sorry.
I'm kidding. I just I'm nitpicky about certain things.
Sure,
and that's just who I am. That's why I became a comedian. I'm not that funny. Surprise, guys! I'm not that funny.
You just see a lot of problems in the world.
I just see things and I say things. You know what I mean?
Just like if you're at the airport.
Yeah, exactly.
You see something, say something on stage with an audience. Here, get down, bud.
So I don't know. Certain little things bother me for whatever reason, out of my control. You know what I mean? Like I'm the grandchild. I'm not the child. I'm not her first child. I'm not. It's just so I just know my role. I don't even live in Cincinnati. And I wasn't even the closest person to her. So I know my role. You know what I mean? It's just certain things, certain lines I can't cross. But just certain things like they were saying, like keep acknowledgments. Keep comments down to 2 minutes.
Like this is that's not even a fucking weak mic in LA.
Yeah,
that's not even you get 3 minutes at even the shittiest mics in LA.
It's my grandmother's funeral. I can't say enough about this woman.
Yeah,
Y'all should feel the same way.
I need the headlining
She only
spot.
been going to this church her whole life and then bringing me there her whole life. And even the people there is her closest friends and family that are still alive. I just think like, what is this? What is this? I mean, what situation where keep comments to 2 minutes? It's not like there was a line of people waiting to speak. Everybody was afraid to speak.
Yeah.
Like nobody was.
But so then at that point you get to run the light. I'm just.
I probably should have, but I was trying to check my ego at the door because I was like, it's not about me.
Her.
It's about my grandma.
Yeah.
Which is funny because the day before I was in this. Me and my mama went shopping. Because I was like, I was in town and she just wanted to make sure I had the right clothes, to wear the funeral.
Sure,
and I was like, she's like, what you want to wear? I was like, I'm just gonna wear something plain because I already had most of it. I feel like every man should own at least one suit. And I had a black suit and black tie, just regular stuff. And then she was like, you don't want to get nothing, a little like I was like, well, I don't want to make it about me. It's about my grandma. And she was like, well, it's not about her. I mean, she's gone. Like it's not about her.
True.
I mean,
but I always feel like funerals, celebrations,
exactly.
But it's
a celebration
of that person, and I think that I think the best funerals are the ones that kind of are celebratory but also somber.
Yeah, but the thing is what it is. I didn't deliver it right. You don't get my mother's sense of humor. My mother's just real. It's just real. Like she just like wear what you want to wear because like what's anybody gonna do about it? and she's right.
That's good. That's a good
You know,
point. I like that. I like that attitude though, because I'll say this though, and maybe it's a white person thing. I've been to way too many funerals where people are wearing like Slayer T-shirts, or you know what I mean, or whatever. Like it's just like there's no ceremony, there's no respect. You know,
going for Jim Buck.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's a good friend of mine.
I mean, you know, it's
just
rough.
to the homie.
They are truly being themselves. I mean, they're truly being themselves. But I'm like, oh, you could have at least thrown a blazer over your Slayer T-shirt. You know, like it could have just one step up.
Everybody was just nice. You know,
Yeah.
some people were just really, really nice, and then some people, you know, I got that one cousin that you never seen in the suit. You're like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
and you're not going to court. Like, you know, so it was kind of cool.
Court, funerals. That's what we have. Oh man.
But,
So you felt it at the funeral, and just her like everybody else was there except for her, kind of, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I mean, well, just also off my family, we're my core family. The only reason I say that is because, you know, I have a lot of extended family that I love a lot. I love everybody, but it's just, you know, like I feel like your household is, you know, like people you live with, and then you have your extended. The next, you know, it's literally like
ring out,
like your grandma or grandfather's, you know, whatever. So my you know, and people like aunts and uncles and all that stuff. We're not close. You know what I mean? We would get close around holidays.
I know the feeling. I've got the same thing, and that's, you know, not having a close family is so weird to everybody else.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You feel like a kind of a freak. Yeah. But it's just, we had just a cool like everybody was just cool towards it. We were meaning like we get along fine, not too much animosity, but we aren't like on each other all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. And just kind of whenever, you know, you have an issue, it's kind of like, you know, you just learn to deal on your own. And I mean, yeah, because you can't, you know, and I shouldn't say, you know, because of course there's times where, you know, you rely on each other, but my point is that, you know, at the funeral is when everybody like came together, and literally that moment when we were around the casket, you know, that's when we all like kind of just, you know, like came together. Like united, especially, you know, I'm not making any better. I live all the way in California, but that moment, I was just like, you know, we don't have a lot of moments like that, and that was like kind of cool to have that, you know. Like honestly, the only time we did have moments like that is when we go over to my grandmother's house.
She was that like unifying factor.
Yep.
Even in death, you know, that's great. But that's almost like that's what the grandma superpower is when you have the right kind of grandma. You know, I had some, you know, whatever. Some people have whatever, not great grandmas, but when you have the grandma who's in that role, that's what they're doing. They're trying to make sure that everybody is included in the tribe and taken care of and feels welcome.
And you know, and like I said, I really, really feel bad for anybody who's never been able to experience that. Right. I mean, that whatever that is, I think that's important for human development, proper human development. And yeah, man, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I still haven't gotten over that hurt. If I could be honest.
It's been 15 years since my father passed away, and there's still one. I mean, one of the reasons why I do this podcast is because I'm not over it. You know, it was sudden, blah blah blah, but it was more like you have that presence, that energy, and when that energy goes away, I could describe it like, you know, Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill. When that rock goes away, you still feel like you should still be pushing something, or still hugging your grandmother, whether you still have that sense of that, because she's always been there.
Yeah, and also it's just you know, there's another side where I don't know, like I feel like authority figures in my life would doubt me somewhat, and it would motivate me, you know. So I kind of wanted to, you know, it's for people, I want to show them my life and lifestyle, you know, and also, you know, I mean, I feel like everybody got this, you know, you want to show them the mansion, like you remember the time I got kicked out of school? Yeah, look at my mansion, you know what I'm saying? And you know, and also you know, side note, I graduated, but I didn't walk.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, and I know, you know, like
That's
my mother, and my absolutely. But I want them to see. I wanted, you know, her to see that mansion. You know, be like, yeah, this is payback for that.
Well, I mean, how do you? Do you feel like she was happy with where you're at in your career?
Yeah. When I first decided to move to California, She didn't seem as ecstatic about it, and it's funny because
you're gonna go to Clown Town and try to make a living.
Well, I didn't even explain all that to her.
Oh, gotcha.
It was weird. It was weird. We kind of had a because me and my grandma we never openly beefed. You know, It was like if she did have a problem with me, she'd probably say it to some people behind my back. But she never came at me like she would just say like be good, do good in school, listen to your parents, all that stuff. But she never came at me like you're a disappointment,
which is amazing
like
because I feel like there's so much elements in our culture that are just like. That just squash that. That just try to make you feel like shit about trying to be yourself, and that's fucking. This is the one problem with bringing the dog.
Your grandma too. No.
And of course, Al's chasing him around. Our producer's on the lam. Yeah. So she would never bring you any grief to your face.
No, but that's what I said. We would have, and she was one of the first people I even told. Like she might have been the first. Because I even had the idea like I'm going to L.A. and she like it's like it was more of a subliminal conversation more than an actual. Like she would say something like, I can't think of his name, but she was like, your cousin, he was out there and he moved. And I'm like, oh, she's like, yeah,
But this family doesn't have a good track record with going to Los Angeles.
Yeah, so I just like, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go, whatever. And I mean, of course, I've heard some of the things that she's kind of said behind my back, but overall, like, I would say maybe a couple years ago, I remember, I went over her house and we were like, she was like, so how do you like it in LA? And I was like, honestly, I love it. And she's like, you ever think about moving back? And I was like, nope.
Wow.
Nope, not even. And she was like, she remembered when she moved. She used to live in New York, and she moved to Cincinnati. And she said somebody asked her the same thing, and she was just like, no, like, yeah, I'm good here.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
I always say also the people that come to whatever LA, Manhattan, San Francisco, Chicago, whatever, from Cincinnati's or wherever, that they have a thing that's different inside of them that needs to not be in their small town or whatever it is. And you have that. You had that spark. I also think that, probably some of that positive influence of your grandmother was an inspiration for you to blaze your own trail.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what I say. Every person in my life, whether we had every person who was a part of my development, whether we had a good relationship or not, I do thank them for letting me keep my individuality. Like nobody's ever questioned that or like they, if anything, try to help me nurture or hone it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you hear things sometimes like you're supposed to do this, but overall, like, it's not like I got locked in basements or, I hear crazy stories where it's just like, I remember one time somebody asked, they asked me about religion or something like that, or whatever. And I explained, like, I was like, oh, we believe this, and that. And my mom was like, oh, that's what you believe. That's what I believe. You believe whatever you want to, and that's important though. That's important to
everybody should create. Everybody should create their own God. So get back to the dabda. Did you have a moment of anger, like mad at God or?
No, that's not my relationship with God. I don't.
Or just mad that grandma was gone.
No,
really?
It's not mad anger. It's just like I said, it just really feels like it wasn't time. That's the only thing. Like I just feel like, I don't know. It's like you ever get the phantom phone?
Oh yeah, all the fucking time.
Yeah. That's how it feels. It's just like I feel like I can call it right now.
Yeah. So in a weird way, you're still in the bargaining phase.
I guess so.
Yeah, kind of. That's like this prolonged, like, it's just everything. She'll give me.
Because like I said, other people pass and they're just like, oh yeah, they did.
Bye.
Oh yeah, like I don't even.
Yeah.
Not one time I would be like, oh yeah. No, it was their time. It was inspired.
Man, because I also that for me, like, I did have a moment where it was like, I almost felt immobilized in like not being able to think or do anything when in the throes of grief. It just like, oh, what's the purpose of all this? Did you have anything like that? You seem pretty motivated though. You seem like you're pretty energized to get shit done.
Yeah, I just, if anything, any of that type of energy I put on myself for I mean, like I said, it's just kind of like the problem I have with school. I know the answers. I do not do the homework.
No, as soon as they told me to start showing my work, that's when I gave up on school. I was not gonna. I can look at it. I can see the answer. As soon as you make me show the work, I'm not interested in doing this anymore. It's like, and so it's weird. Like, so it's almost like you're doing the emotional work. Like, it's like this is the formula. I'm internalizing it. Okay, now I'm all right.
Yeah.
You're just like doing all the dark magic inside of it.
Well, and also I'll say, so my father was at a very interesting situation just a couple months ago. Because
And
had a similar.
you weren't raised, or was he around?
He was around. I don't know if anybody listens to my comedy, they might feel like I'm pretty hard on dads in general.
But again, but it's weird. But my dad was the sweet one. My mom was a little bit of the jerk, but I still had to. I was still being raised by her. She's fine, whatever. But my dad was just a good, sweet Christian man, and he was broken. Like my mom destroyed him,
Oh wow!
Kind of thing. But I also definitely get, like, most of my friends growing up. It was they did have just whatever jerk face dads. They're not great. They're not great guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Well, the way I describe my relationship with my father is, I met him when I was 4. So he wasn't around for the early times, but I even joke now where I say like what does a kid need a father before he's 4? Like, men can't breastfeed. You know what I mean? Like, what do you need a father for? Like,
it's okay.
Yeah,
you let him chew on it. It's fine.
With mothers, they associate just nurturing, caring. Fathers, they associate like catch. You can't catch a ball when you're 2. Like, until you're 2. Like, so that's like, I didn't really need
love
like
that.
But no, like it was a very tough relationship. He wasn't really around, but he would come around, and I feel like he attempted to make things appear like it was perfect or better, but it never really was. We've always had a disconnect, and I think at some point I just adopted the whole lifestyle of, my father's not around, what I mean? So it's that was my lifestyle. That was my mentality, like, I didn't have a father.
You can't rely on him. You can't. You can't put him in the position of helping you sort stuff out.
Yeah, and a lot of people, dads were their hero. You know what I mean? Growing up, just when you hear that, I shouldn't say I didn't even see that. I heard that. Yeah. Just growing up, it's like, oh, my dad, and I just never felt that. I think if I could be honest about it, it's probably because of our age gap.
Was he a lot older?
When I was born, my dad was 49.
Wow, old dad.
And as you said before, I'm an only child, but I have 11 to 12 brothers and sisters. Yeah, yeah, and it's just always been a weird dynamic, but it's always been a cool dynamic because, and it also helps give me my individuality, because whenever somebody try to put me in a box as far as what my nucleus family is like, they can't, because I grew up an only child, but I also grew up with siblings. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I grew up without my father and with my father. It's just like it's just hard to.
I feel like those are the kind of contradictions that build a comedian. Yeah. You know what I mean? I always say that mysticism is born from cognitive dissonance. You know what I mean? Like, if as a comedian, you can hold these two almost weird contradictory thoughts in your head, and the joke is the pathway between them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like this. I don't like dinner tables. Okay. I hate them. I hate dinner tables. I hate sitting down and eating with people.
Okay.
Like, it just is at home. I just think, whatever you were doing previous to, a meal should never stop living. People are like, put your phones away. Like, no. Me and my mom we would seamlessly cook, eat, and watch TV, and nothing would break that up. And then you would go over a family member's house and stuff like that. It's like, all right, let's sit down. Like, well, we gotta sit down. Let's talk. How was your day? Like, I've talked to you about this all day.
I will also say that's the perfect dynamic of a single mom. Instead of her being like dragging you over to the table and be like, this is the time where we look at each other and we chew our food. But what about Thanksgiving? Is that an exception?
Exactly, but that's a holiday.
It's a
special.
celebration.
Exactly, it's special. But when you do it every day, is it really that special?
No.
It's like if you had turkey every day. day? What's Thanksgiving?
I will say this though, having been in production, I hate the meals where they're like, this is going to be a moving meal, or you're on your feet or whatever. You could give you a slice of pizza and you have to wander around set with a slice of pizza.
Right.
I just prefer to be sitting and having some kind of utensil. That's it. That's the bare minimum.
Well, I'll say this, like, I know I'm pretty abrupt when I was like, I don't hate sitting with people, but like, if you're out, and you're, like, hey, let's go to, whatever, Olive Garden. I don't know. That's just what I heard recently. I've never even been to Olive Garden. I just know white people like Olive Gardens.
Oh, they love that Olive Garden. We do. And actually, I haven't been in years, but still.
Well, yeah, places you sit down. Like, I get it. I'm not trying to go above it, but just like, I don't know. It's like, we had a dinner table and we used it as a computer desk or something like that. We just, I just that whole. But I really loved how I grew up.
Yeah,
I really wouldn't change a thing.
That's
as weird
awesome.
as that sounds. Yeah.
No, it's awesome. It's like you had enough love. You had enough guidance. Nobody was out, harassing you or whatever. Like that's a. I mean,
Well, what do you mean by not harassing?
I don't know. I mean, you tell me. I'm just saying, like,
got my ass whooped a lot.
Really? But
Absolutely.
You still loved your childhood, though.
Love my childhood.
Okay. But the ass whoopings were just.
That's why I'm such a great person. You know how many people are walking around and never got their ass kicked, and you can hear it when they talk and they put that red hat on. You just know. You never got your ass kicked.
And
never got your ass
a
whooped.
punch in the nose would change the fucking attitude of so many people everywhere, all over the world. It would be really amazing if that's almost like if you hear that, or then it's like that person gets punched in the nose, they'll change their attitude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but they just talk with this confidence, this arrogance, and you like, yo, you never had your ass whooped. It's like a secret. It's like, and then they just get in your face, and you like, do you not know what comes next?
Yeah,
you don't know what comes next.
Oh,
you don't know.
The good thing is, being a big guy with tattoos, as I am, anybody brings that shit to me, I just have to kind of almost bring my shoulders up a little bit, and people will dim down their entitlement. It's just a weird mutant power I have. People just don't bring me their bullshit, and it's not that I've never handed anybody an ass whooping. I'm just not that kind of person. I've definitely had to take my lumps. I'm just a weird pacifist.
I used to not be that type of person.
Okay.
And I don't go. Trust me, I don't go around fighting everybody. Because anybody knows me know that I consider myself a pacifist. I used to say things like, "There's no reason to hit somebody."
Okay, yeah, that is.
And I do not
line.
believe that.
That's
now.
a pretty hard line.
There's like I've started fights before. I used to think that you couldn't start like why would somebody start a fight? First person blown means that person was wrong, But I just remember. What's the first fight I saw?
God, I want to hear this because this is amazing because I'm really good at it. So I was in Tijuana with a girlfriend, and she was this kind of girl that would always just kind of like.
Did you take her there?
Yeah, we were partying because when you grow up in LA, that's the place to go.
Guy.
She was under 21, so I had to find a place to get her drunk. So it was Tijuana.
That's so layered. Go ahead.
Yeah, but she was also I was probably 21 at the she was 18 or 19. But she was the kind of girl that was always be throwing a little bit of flirtation towards everybody around her, and we were walking down Revolucion Boulevard in Tijuana.
I'm so scared where this goes.
And this fucking group of fucking punk kids kind of was like, oh, hey girl, and grabbed her and all that. And I did the dumbest thing. I was like, oh, what's that over there? And they all turned around and we just walked off the other direction. And it was the dumbest thing, and it worked. And I didn't have to get into a fight. And it was just like, it was, and I think they finally gave up on trying to harass us because they were just like, what is going on?
I want you to know you did the wrong thing.
I should have been scrapping with those
this is what you should have done. You obviously never seen a Michael Jackson music video. You get in their face and you go, you ain't bad, and then you dance.
Oh,
and you have a dance off. Yeah. And eventually they learn you right.
Oh yeah,
he can sing and dance better than me. That's right. And that's it. And then the girl loves you forever.
Oh shit. Well, I had to get rid of that one, but that's a whole other story. Yeah. So you don't remember your first fight? That you started.
I started. I'm about to say first fight. I mean, I guess, there's so many first fights. I mean, so many fights early on, that just happened, you know. But, I was kind of a more nerdy kid, so I didn't really start them. But I would say my first one, I think that was 6th grade, 5th or 6th grade. Yeah. I just know I was transitioning to a new school, and there was, it was this guy who, Okay, yeah, I think he was playing like kickball or something like that. And he was the pitcher. Everybody on our team was mad at him
because he wasn't giving good pitches.
He was doing wrong, right? And everybody was yelling at him. I might have been yelling, but I don't remember doing the most. I remember maybe I was just like, oh, yeah, you're right. And for some reason, out of all the people, he looked at me and just was like,
decided you're the one.
He said, man, fuck you. Like that. Like, oh, fuck you. And I was like, I don't know why. It just bothered me that he felt like I was the weakest one out of all those people. Just something inside, he just like, in my brain, it was like, all these people. You think you can whoop my ass?
Wow.
That's what pissed me off. I don't know. So it was just quick. Like, I didn't think it was rational.
But also, probably for him, it wasn't even rational either. It was probably some weird instinct. It was like, that's the one I'm going to pick on.
Okay. So then I remember he like, oh, you pitched it or something like that. He threw the ball at me, right? And I caught it. And I ran towards him, right? And I threw the ball in his hand. He caught it, and I just, Yeah. And I was on the ground. Hitting him. And I remember like people was pulling me off, and they were like, no. Oh, that's right, because I was supposed to go to performing arts, and they were like, no, Jeremy, like, hood kids. They all supported. They was like, no, you gonna mess your chances up to go to that good school.
They're gonna mess up your face. You'll never be the next Denzel. No.
But then I think that's when I changed my mind. I was like, sometimes you just gotta whoop somebody's ass.
I also feel like I definitely can see that scene in the TV show that you make about your childhood.
Absolutely.
Right? That's a fucking beautiful, especially because it's kickball and not any other typical sport where people are getting fights. Kickball is just like, you're already kicking, you know? Like, what
it was and I grew up in the hood, and I was, and I don't even say that to brag. It's just that
it's the fact.
But it's the environment. Like the kids, I was one of them chill kids. There was some crazy kids there that literally fought every day. Yeah. They would that's how they communicate, was through fighting.
No, they probably had, their household wasn't not in chaos or something, whatever. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? It was that.
I remember this one kid used to scream Piru. I didn't even know what that meant.
Oh, that's.
I didn't know.
I grew up near Piru.
Yeah. But see, you're from here. This is Cincinnati, Ohio. This is not
that's a crazy
L.A. Like it's they got Crips and Bloods in London now. You're like,
so
all right, mate, what are you doing on this side of the street?
I got rolled by the Shoreline Crips when I was my last day of smoking crack. Just so
really,
yeah, I was. It was crazy, and there was also what I will call the most racist day of my life, just as a caveat. But I was a big old crackhead for about a year living in Venice.
I always confuses me when somebody, don't take this the wrong way, but somebody who's says I was a crackhead. I was like, you're doing it wrong.
This was 15 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I will say that, yes, I had lost a lot of weight. I was probably down to 160 pounds. It was amazing. The crack diet is the way to go, because you don't want to spend money on anything else. Just the crack. I was literally doing the math in my head. It was like, okay, well, I make $1,500 here, and if I spend this, I'll still have the amount of money for rent. I was like, all I wanted to do was pay my rent and buy crack. I didn't care about anything else.
Wow.
But yeah, so I was, I thought I was done smoking crack. Came home super drunk driving, and rolled into my neighborhood, and I was like, you know what? I need some crack. And all I had was $7 on me. And when you're a really good crackhead, they'll hand you the kibble, and you just put it right in your mouth right away. So you can either swallow it if the cops come, but you can also test to make sure it's crack, because it'll give you a little numbness like cocaine. And I gave the guy the $7. He's like, what the fuck? And I was like, He's like, come over here. And he had me go around the corner, and they fucking pulled me out of the car, and they kind of fake roughed me up. They didn't really rough me up
because you were a good customer.
Because I was a good customer. but also like they were kicking me, but not like super, like not like curb stomping me. They were just kind of doing like the show of like, you better have money next time. And they stole my wallet, and my keychain broke, so they didn't steal my car. But they immediately went and bought like $70 worth of beer at the Rite Aid across the street. That was literally the only kind of
why most racist.
Well, here it comes. So they sent out. So they
I'm sorry.
No. I know. I knew I was thinking myself this great, but I'm ready. I'm a comedian. I can do this. So I called the cops. I went back to my house, and of course, I smoked up first before calling the cops. Then I called the cops and said, "Hey, I got mugged." So they sent out patrol car with a Latino and a black officer, and the black officer's interviewing me, and he says, can you give us a description? And I said, they all look the same to me. I literally said that, and he just did this thing. He looked at me and he goes, well, I'm going to be in my car, and he just walked off. Like, he was done. Like, at that moment, he was done with me. So I was with the Latino cop. Then they send a woman cop. I don't know what shitty thing I said to her, but when they send the Jewish cop, because he had a name badge that had a Jewish last name on it, I said, what's a nice Jewish boy like you being a LA County sheriff? What are you doing this for? You're disappointing your parents. And I was like, Jeez. I ran the gamut. I found a way to offend. I can't even remember what I said to the Mexican cop or the Latino cop.
I'm about to ruin your podcast. Did you use the N-word?
No, I did not.
You didn't?
I didn't.
Oh, cool.
But here's the crazy thing.
I can call my cousins and tell them not to come.
but here's the crazy thing. Like, it's like the attitude around that has changed significantly in my life.
You use it at rap songs.
Well, no, but I grew up in Long Beach, and I was the kind of person that I was in an OG neighborhood, and if I didn't occasionally drop the N-bomb, then they would think I was a cop or something was wrong with me, you know? Yeah. So but also now it's like, no, there's no reason. There's no reason.
I get it. It's a little different culture. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you're an adult.
Yes.
So you're like,
I don't have to responsible for it. And also I don't have to dance for my survival anymore, which is probably what was going on.
I have my own stories about that. So I do relate to that. Like literally dancing for your survival. Yeah. Just like, literally like I wasn't allowed to. I just feel like when I would walk home, I couldn't smile.
Yes. Isn't that crazy? And I wonder if this whole logical part of you, this whole like robot inside, comes from an environment of not being able to be like joyous or silly, or you know what I mean? Because if you were that dopey, fun little kid, someday they would have smashed that out of you.
Yeah, I mean they did. I mean, it's different parts.
Yeah, sure.
It's kind of hard to just put like wash it over, but it definitely had. I think the multiple elements made me, and that's what I love about my mind. And being able to relate to a lot of other people. But you said the most racist day of your life. I thought you were going to say all these people jumped you, and you were like, "You're not going to give me back my keys. You're going to rule the day."
Well, I mean, but also I was doing it to cops who have guns that they can shoot you with, which I feel like But that to me, that is the ultimate white privilege, is being able to sass to a fucking cop. Whew.
Yes.
That is, didn't even, at the time I didn't realize it. Now in retrospect, I'm like, who the fuck did I think I was that I could fucking, say some shitty ass things to a cop?
See, but you're evolved. You've been punched in the face enough, and now you're a great person. And that's why we should just like start like they have Planned Parenthood. We need like banks around the world where you just bring people in and just punch you in the face repeatedly.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You can bring friends in.
Yeah, I like the idea that you get like this, like almost this fun invitation, like, hey, you've been invited to this bank, and then you show up and you're like, oh, we got your name here, and then just some Russian guy comes out of the fucking woodwork and goes, bam, and he just goes back, and then like, okay, here's your receipt.
Yeah, exactly.
What was that for? Well, it says your friend Chris referenced, sent you over here.
Testimonials, have infomercials at 5 a.m. Like, I remember who I was before I got punched in the face, and I didn't like it.
Oh, God, that's I'm telling you, man. That is hilarious. That is, I've been thinking about that idea for years, but you've like really crystallized this. Just. I also don't want to do the punching because I've hurt my knuckles way too many times on other people's faces.
Oh, wow.
And I don't want to, like, just defending myself or whatever, fighting with my brother, like, it hurts to punch a person.
Yeah. It's not you know what? And honestly, when you're in it, because the fights don't last long.
No.
And when you're in it, you become pain, like nothing. You feel nothing.
The adrenaline's just going.
Yeah. Then afterwards, especially I've been jumped before, man. I didn't feel a thing
at the time.
I didn't feel a thing. My head banging against the concrete, nothing. You see like Actually, I've never been too banged up, but
it's still in pain,
Or even punching somebody.
Yeah, you have a fucking tooth in your fucking
the
cut from the tooth in your knuckle,
and
that thing gets infected with the other person's gross ass mouth germs.
Man, this was so swollen, so big. It was like this size, man.
Oh,
crazy, man.
Yeah,
stupid stuff, guys. Don't punch people.
So okay, back to a little bit of the grief.
Go ahead. Let's do it. Yeah, the grief cast.
Is there anything that you would have wanted to say to your grandma that you didn't get a chance to?
Oh man, you trying to make me cry? No, I'm kidding. No,
I mean, that is kind of.
No, we. I want to say ended, but it was on good terms. Like I said, I think everything I needed to say we got to say. That's what helps me feel at peace. I'm glad I don't feel that way, because that would have bothered me. But we've always said I loved you, you and stuff, and just always, like I said, we weren't the closest, but we were the closest we needed to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like I totally feel how she felt about me, and I think she totally. Like I said, I think the last of it was that conversation where, she was asking me, like, would I ever move back? Yeah. And because I feel like before that it would always be like little, like, if you ever want to come back, or if you ever, or or I would hear her talk to other people and just be like, yeah, he should come home, and I was, I even spent a time where I didn't talk to her at all, and I'm definitely not proud of that. Now, if something would have happened during that period, I would have felt terrible. Ooh. But,
I just got chills just thinking, like, wow.
Yeah, I would have felt awful, but that's why I say, like, when you ask me if I was angry at God, like, no, that's not what God has shown me. That's not what she has shown me. It's I was able to make my peace, and like I said, I think whatever little bit was there, the moment she was like, would you ever move back? Like, you ever think about moving back? And I was like, no. And then she related to me like, yo, I get it. Yeah, I get it, because this is how I felt. And I get it, like, so go do your thing. Wow. And after that, just stories, we talk about stories. She asked me, I remember she was like, she goes, so how's Hollywood? And I was like, oh, it's great. She's like, you ever run into any homosexuals? Like, like homeo.
Homeo don't play that.
Like, yes, a lot of them in there. Like, yes, a lot of homeos out there.
I love the idea that homosexuals, like, it's a homeopathic cure. You just need a little bit of dick and you'll get over it. It's fine. Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, like I said, I feel like we patched everything up, and like I said, it's just I still just stuck with this feeling, man. I don't know. Maybe I have to come back and tell you when.
Yeah, if it resolves. Did you anything else that you want to add?
Well, I was going to talk a little bit about my father.
Oh yeah, that's right. No. Let's we got time.
Well, he was in a situation where he's like he was about to pass, and if you do the math, I'm 30.
Yeah, so
I told you.
Almost, he's just about 80.
Yeah, he's 80. So and he got sick recently, and kind of the same thing. And this is I have a lot of smart friends who question me on my faith. If you ever want to know why I believe in what I believe in and where it comes from, like I told you with my grandma, I had already bought a ticket. I was where I needed to be every single time. And same thing with my father, where it was just like I already. And you understand, I never go home. Yeah. I was coming home and he happened to be sick. He called me the day before and was just like, hey, I don't know, like he gave me one of those movie deathbed talks, and
very dramatic, huh?
Yeah, and I happened to already have been coming. I came and I spent some time with him, and long story short, he did better. Yeah. But at the beginning of the year, I actually said I wanted to be for whatever this means, I wanted to be a better son to him. Wow. So it's kind of cool. I feel like I got a chance to do that. Yeah. A little bit.
I mean, it's almost like when those things kind of happen, it's like you're in a state of grace. And I think that it's hard as intelligent, logical human beings to believe that there's a state of grace. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I also think that the phone call and the fact that the flight was already booked, you're just telling me the story, but you had some kind of healing effect on your father. He got to say a thing and you got to be the son, and something changed in his heart that allowed him to not be as sick anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I considered that, you understand, I have a lot of siblings, like a lot of them came, a lot of them didn't.
Yeah. But you're the minister of the family, so.
No, I'm just, you know what's funny? So I'll tell you this. My dad, you got to understand, I've spent a lot of time rebelling against this man.
Oh, sure.
You know what I'm saying? But, most of his kids have. I spent a lot of time rebelling against him. I mean, he has a lot of kids, so that's why I don't never
it's
really.
Just the odds are they're.
Exactly. I never feel like really special because just like it's so many. I mean, people say I'm special, but I'm like, like 12 or 13 something. Or you hear that? Or
we're not sure. We haven't sorted it all out.
I met most. Anyway, yeah, I remember my dad became a preacher when I was 11.
Son of a preacher man?
Right.
Wow.
Right. But the thing is, people will try to put that on me. And but I'm like, the fact that I wasn't born into
a ministry family.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like my dad, I knew him for years before, and
he was already 60, so this was like a second career for him.
Right. And it just
but maybe he'd also run out of steam on some of the other things going on.
It never had an influence on me that people was trying to make it seem. You know what I mean? I had already deemed him not my hero.
Sure.
You understand?
Yeah.
So like Nas was my hero. You know what I mean? So it was just like, but I remember he told me, he goes, Jeremy, do you ever consider preaching like that? And I'm like, you ain't been doing it a year yet, so why you
trying to jump me in? Yeah.
But I was like, nah. And then he was just like, he said, I had a vision, that you would preach one day. What do you think about that? And I was like, I think you're crazy, And now, here we go, and I laughed, and people always try to put that on me. Now, here I am pursuing stand-up comedy where I already said it, I'm not that funny. You know what I mean? I should say that because that's unfair to people who actually consider me funny.
You can hold your own.
I think I shouldn't say that. But the reason why I say that is because that's not what drives or motivates me. A lot of people are like, I just want to make the world laugh. It's like, man, I have something in my heart and I want to.
You got a message.
Yeah, I want to force people to think individually. You know what I'm saying? I want people to open their brains up to the possibilities of life and be more pacifist. I know it might not seem that when I'm telling a dick joke, but that's why I really feel.
But I think that it's funny because my family my grandfather was a minister, so I think about this a lot, and I think that obviously the stage. There's something healing about it, not only for the self, but also for the people witnessing it. I also think that it is the last place where a person can truly tell the truth.
Yes.
I mean, you can't even tell the truth in church anymore.
No.
That's the one place where you should be telling the truth. No, but exactly. I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
And
so we feel each other in this room.
Yeah, and I really think that as far as it's almost like your ministry is your fans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The people that want to come out and see you. That's your ministry. Yeah, a couple hundred, thousand, few thousand, whatever it is. Yeah, and they're all over the world. They're not just in
absolutely
Cincinnati.
And I'll tell you, since my comedy album came out, it's kind of cool because people the response I've been getting has been weird. It's like, oh man, people. I didn't know this many people liked me.
Right?
Who's to say that that's not what he saw and he just interpreted it as preaching though?
Well, and again, he was called to that. You're called to this. I think, and I actually think that comedy is better than God, but that's just me. Or this stage is
man. It's definitely freeing, and I mean, how many people. It's so funny how, hey everybody, we're voting for politicians, but most people, I think if you took a survey and you asked people, do you feel like politicians tell the truth? You know what I mean?
Fuck no.
I don't think anybody, although all these people are going to vote for these people, but I think if you took a survey and said, do more comedians tell the truth or politicians tell the truth, where are you going to get more of your truth from?
Is Bill Burr telling the truth or is Donald Trump telling the truth?
Come on. So that's why when people go like, because I dip into political humor and people go like, I have all these radical ideas and they're like, well, if you have all those answers, then why don't you try to run? And I'm like, give me some time, daggone it. Like comedy is
still where you're at right now.
Is where the freedom comes from to say these things and to have these free thoughts. You know what I mean?
And I also think that there's such a corrupting force going towards politics.
Corrupting? You mean money?
Well, the money, yes, for sure, but also the
power.
Yeah, where you become a liar because every time you open your mouth, people want you to say the thing for them.
Absolutely.
Not your truth. No, that's. And I also think probably if if Kevin Hart decided to tell everybody how to vote, all of his fans, don't ever come to my show again unless you vote this way, I bet you it could swing an election.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we're witnessing it with, Yacon, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But we're witnessing it somewhat.
Yeah.
Somewhat. But, I feel like things happen in cycles.
Sure.
And the longer you live, you realize that people think things are so different, and then you realize they're just the same.
Yeah.
So I feel like, we're on this side, like you have modern art and you have postmodern art.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I just think like, and no matter, people think, I love when people talk like end of the world talk. They love, or they go, this never in a generation has this thing been this bad.
Bullshit.
And all you have to do is pick up a book, a history book, and you're like, oh.
Does everybody forget the Nazis?
Yeah, like it's been bad. They never thought it would be ever worse than that moment. It's always like that.
I would also say, like, right now, it feels like, especially with things like the internet and things like that, we're actually moving into a more positive space.
Possibly.
It's slow. It's very slow. And there's a lot of people being connected, and there's still so many fucking trolls and jerks out there.
Yeah, and then also with war and changing of power. You know what I mean? Like that's what happens. Like, when you overthrow a king, then it's gonna be chaos until the government gets into, a good place. And also, when I grew up, the school I went to, which is all black school, they actually really focused a lot on Black History Month, and not saying because of black school, whatever, but just I just really looked at those heroes, and you read these things about time and slavery, you be like, oh, glad it's not like that anymore, right? And you're like, good thing we had heroes, and then you look around and you get older and you're like, oh, it's getting crazy, oh man, because you really wonder, how did they ever let the world get like that? And then you look around now and it's like, oh, it's happening again.
It's happening again.
And then you look like, yo, maybe I'm supposed to do something about it.
We are. You and I are. And I would say, like, that's the reason, we're drawn to comedy rather than politics, is because you can say something like kind of wise and then be like, and then my dick, or whatever. I would say a dick joke. But it's like you get to have the wisdom and the power there and hopefully change people's hearts. And then if they can laugh, it'll go in a little deeper. It'll like, they'll actually like, they'll soften their attitude if they can laugh.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. And on that note, Mr. Scippio, Jeremy, thank you so much. This was fucking awesome. Yes. What's the name of your album?
It's Happens to the Best of Us.
And where can people get it?
Literally everywhere. So no excuses.
Okay.
I mean, let's start on iTunes because it has a price tag on it.
Yep.
But Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, Google Play, even some Korean apps that I've never even heard of is available. Hey, go get it, listen to it. Let me know what you think.
Did you have a company produce it for you?
No. I recorded at New York Comedy Club. Shout out Amy Hawthorne. She always has my back. I can't think of the guy's name. Sorry, but mixed it. But
so have you? Then you distributed it all yourself? You had to do all the heavy lifting of all the.
Yeah, but you know what though? I mean, it's fun, and I encourage anybody to do that nowadays.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Fun
that's what I wanted to hear, because I feel like that was always that was always inhibiting people from being able to get their stuff out there. But you figured it out. I'll
go on record and say it's fun doing things I should say for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, the ministry isn't going to pay for itself. We got to get that album on iTunes, because that's when he's going to make the most money. iTunes, guys. That's where I'm going to buy it today.
Thank you, man.
Jeremy, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. This was fucking awesome.
Thank you,
man. And Al, thank you for
Al's
introducing me. Hey, thanks for being with us. This has been another episode of American Griefcast. You can follow us on all social media at American Griefcast. It'd be wonderful if you could join our Patreon and kick us a few bucks so that I can pay all the people involved in this. Have a wonderful day.